Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on October 10th, Thursday, about 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. And, excuse me, it's been a very benign day. I look a little scruffy, but that's okay. You know, I don't like beating my face to death with the razor, you know. So I'm holding off till maybe Saturday. I've got a funeralize on Saturday morning. It's kind of a double funeral, but it's being held at in one fell swoop. It's this elderly couple that died down in South Carolina some months ago now, actually. The fellow was he was in his 90s, almost in his 90s. Both these individuals were almost in their 90s, if not in their 90s. And the one fellow had been a Navy carrier pilot in World War II and ended the war. Well, he stayed in the service after the war, and he left the service, I think, in the mid-50s with the rank of commander. And so he's going to be getting military honors at the interment. And then his wife, who's very active in the local Red Cross and the National Red Cross, she died about a year or so after he did. They had moved down to South Carolina a few years back to be closer to their kids. This man was always he's like a library. When somebody like this man dies, it's like a library's been burnt down. He then went into the, after he left the Navy, he went into the diplomatic Foreign Service Corps, and he was in Berlin, excuse me, in 1961 during the, when the Berlin Wall was built in August of 1961. So he was there during that particular crisis point, and some others as well. So, wow, I sure hope he wrote some of that stuff down. Of course, some of that stuff probably still can't be fully published, I guess, due to the various secrecy laws. But what a fine individual. Well, they were both fine individuals. So I'll be reading on Saturday and maybe doing some other things. That's a end of an era there for those two people and for what they represent. So I guess it's left to the rest of us, particularly the millennials, which sometimes get a bad rap, sometimes get a good rap, to carry on. So I've been YouTubing today. I'm emailing and Wall Street journaling and emailing and YouTubing. I just got off the horn with a buddy of mine. I've known this guy since 76, 77. And we got into a fair amount of mischief together over the years. But we've had to settle down now, otherwise we'd be dead. So, his wife's having a colonoscopy here tomorrow, and so he called to talk with me about, the prep instructions and this, that, and the other. And I asked who was doing it, and he gave me the name of the fellow who was doing it. And this is a fellow that had been down at Grant Hospital as a surgery resident when I was down there doing anesthesia. And I always said to myself, you know, if I had to have anything done, I wouldn't mind having this guy work on me. So I said, tell him hi. He's done some other things on the two of them, and so yeah, maybe in time, if I get insured and can afford it, I might have one of these look-sees. I wouldn't mind having him do it, actually. Well, I'm on the way down to get the mail, as you might have surmised. So let's just see what's afoot down here. The other day, Paul found a piece of mail that had somehow drifted aside. It was up the road a considerable piece, and he saw it, noticed it, and fetched it down here, and so we got that a couple of days later, but that's okay. It seems they've collected my trash today. That's good. Let's just see here. Oh my. It's an absolute cornucopia. Stay up there, guy. Oh. Well, I dropped some today, but I didn't drop it the other day, so that wasn't the reason why I didn't get my mail till 2 days later from that one letter. It's interesting. This letter that was, you know, well, it was very wet because we had, you know, it was in the dew and we'd had some rain, but, you know, it was surprisingly intact, as these wet letters sometimes aren't. And it was from a woman at church. She's in her early 80s. There's a lot of people. Well, it was in the Bible study group. She was from the Bible study group, and she's the individual that's relatively very deaf. Well, not relatively very deaf, she's profoundly deaf. But she's got, from time to time, she has hearing aids that work, and she used an interesting analogy. It was a card, and she drew angels on it. But she used an interesting analogy. She said, you know, every puzzle has pieces, and if a piece is missing, then you can't complete the picture. And she was saying the Bible study group was like a puzzle, and I was an integral part of that puzzle, or a piece of that puzzle. And, you know, they want me to come back. Well, that's very kind of them. I mean, that's very kind of them. I'm, you know, from a sort of a social community, sense of community standpoint, I'd like to go back too, but well, I just can't. Just, you know, the hermeneutical atmosphere in that group is just one that I just have got, so I couldn't really sit up there and peace, truth, and love, because I was discerning very little truth to go with the peace and love. Well, you can only fight, you know, I mean, you can only be the isolated voice for so long, and if you're not really even allowed to have your say, then. So we'll see. That's an ongoing saga. So I think wait here a bit to see if Paul gets home with another story about the hotel quality assurance people. So until then, all righty.